What if I told you that the difference between those who struggle financially and those who effortlessly attract wealth isn't talent, education, or even hard work, but what they do in the first 10 minutes of their day? But before we begin, please hit the like button and let me know where in the world you're watching from today. It's always fascinating seeing who's joining us from around the world. Right now, as you're watching this, millions of people are waking up and immediately reaching for their phones, diving headfirst into a chaotic stream of notifications, news, and other people's agendas. They're programming their minds with anxiety, comparison, and scarcity before they've even had their first cup of coffee. Has this ever happened to you? You wake up feeling peaceful, but within minutes of scrolling, you're already stressed about money, worried about the future, or feeling behind in life. Here's what most people don't realize. Those first precious moments after you wake up aren't just the start of your day. They're the most powerful programming window your mind will have for the next 24 hours. Your subconscious is still in that liminal space between sleep and full consciousness, making it incredibly receptive to whatever information you choose to feed it. And here's the shocking truth. Wealthy people have been using this biological phenomenon for centuries. What you're about to discover might surprise you, but the most successful entrepreneurs, investors, and abundance-minded individuals don't jump out of bed and immediately start hustling. Instead, they understand something profound about how the universe operates. They know that trying to attract money while your inner world is chaotic and misaligned is like trying to tune into a radio station while standing next to electromagnetic interference. You'll get nothing but static. The secret lies in something I call wealth frequency alignment, and it happens in the invisible realm before any external action takes place. When you synchronize your internal state with the natural laws of abundance, something remarkable occurs. Money, opportunities, and resources begin flowing toward you not because you're chasing them, but because you've become a magnet that they cannot resist. Stay with me until the end, because what I'm about to share with you isn't just theory. It's a specific, daily practice that transforms your relationship with money from the inside out. This isn't about positive thinking or wishful manifestation. This is about understanding the precise mechanism by which your morning mental state creates your financial reality. Think about it. If your mind is the garden and your thoughts are the seeds, what exactly are you planting each day? Most people unconsciously sow seeds of worry, lack, and limitation the moment they wake up. But what if you could deliberately plant something entirely different? What if those first 10 minutes could become your daily appointment with abundance? The practice I'm about to reveal requires no special equipment, costs nothing, and takes less time than your morning shower, yet it has the power to completely revolutionize your financial life. Because here's what the wealthy understand that others miss. The external world is simply a reflection of your internal programming, and that programming happens most powerfully in the sacred space of your morning consciousness. If these insights resonated with you, subscribe to join a community of people who understand that true wealth starts from within. Every video gives you practical tools most people never discover. So here's where this transformation begins to get really fascinating, and where most personal development approaches completely miss the mark. They tell you to repeat affirmations, but they don't explain the hidden truth behind why most affirmations fail miserably. The problem isn't with the technique itself, it's with the energy behind the words. When you wake up and immediately start declaring, "I want to be rich," or "I need more money," you're actually programming yourself from a place of lack. Every time you use words like want or need, you're reinforcing the very absence you're trying to overcome. Your subconscious mind is incredibly literal, and it hears these statements as confirmation that you don't currently have what you're asking for. This creates a perpetual cycle where you're always wanting, always needing, but never actually receiving. The wealthy operate from an entirely different frequency. Instead of affirming from desire, they declare from identity. There's a profound difference between saying, "I want to attract money," and stating, "I am a channel of wealth." One comes from emptiness seeking to be filled, while the other comes from abundance recognizing itself. When you shift this seemingly small detail in your morning practice, something remarkable happens behind the scenes of your consciousness. Your brain begins rewiring itself to match this new identity. Neuroscience shows us that when you consistently embody a particular state of being, your neural pathways literally reshape themselves to support that reality. But here's what makes this even more powerful. It's not just about the words you're speaking to yourself. The real magic happens when you learn to enter the emotional state of already having what you desire. Think about this for a moment. How does someone with complete financial freedom actually feel in their body? They don't walk around tense and anxious about money. They don't check their bank account with fear. Their breathing is relaxed. Their posture is confident. Their decisions come from possibility rather than limitation. They move through the world with a quiet certainty that everything they need will be provided. Now here's where this journey becomes truly transformative. Most people try to imagine wealth from their current emotional state of stress or worry. But you can't access abundance while you're vibrating at the frequency of scarcity. It's like trying to receive a radio signal on the wrong wavelength. The transmission is happening, but you're not tuned in to receive it. The breakthrough comes when you realize you can actually practice feeling wealthy right now, regardless of your bank balance. Your nervous system doesn't know the difference between something that's happening in your imagination and something that's happening in reality, as long as you make the experience vivid enough. When you consciously enter the emotional state of financial freedom during those precious morning moments, you're literally training your body to hold that frequency. This isn't just some mystical concept. There's real science behind this impact on your decision-making process. When you embody the feeling of abundance, you start noticing opportunities that were always there, but invisible to your scarcity-focused mind. You begin making choices from confidence rather than fear. Your very presence starts communicating something different to the world around you. The revelations don't stop there, because what you're essentially doing is rewriting the fundamental story your mind tells about who you are and what's possible for you. Instead of being someone who struggles with money, you become someone for whom wealth flows naturally. This identity shift creates a ripple effect that touches every area of your financial life. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic because there's a specific sequence to how you implement this transformation that makes all the difference between temporary positive feelings and lasting financial change. Write in the comments, "I am ready to embody wealth," if this resonates with you and you're ready to start operating from this new frequency. The sequence I mentioned becomes crucial here, because there's a hidden truth about manifestation that most people completely misunderstand. They think it's about controlling every detail, micromanaging the universe, and forcing outcomes through sheer willpower. But that approach actually creates resistance and blocks the very flow you're trying to activate. Here's what happens behind the scenes when you truly master this process. After you've done the internal work of aligning your identity and embodying the feeling of abundance, there comes a moment of profound surrender. This isn't giving up or becoming passive. It's releasing your death grip on the how and trusting an intelligence far greater than your conscious mind to orchestrate the details. Think about it this way. When you plant a seed in the ground, you don't dig it up every day to check if it's growing. You water it, give it sunlight, and trust the natural process to unfold. The same principle applies to your financial transformation. Your job is to plant the right seeds in your consciousness each morning, then step back and allow universal intelligence to work through you and around you in ways your logical mind could never orchestrate. This is where most people sabotage themselves without realizing it. They do the visualization, they feel the abundance, but then they immediately jump into anxiety about when it's going to happen, how it's going to happen, and whether they're doing it right. That worry energy completely cancels out the positive programming they just installed. Real faith isn't waiting around hoping something might happen someday. It's acting with complete certainty that the outcome is already secured, even when you can't see the evidence yet. It's making decisions today from the person you're becoming, not from the person you've been. This creates a powerful momentum that pulls your desired reality towards you at an accelerated pace. Now here's where this journey becomes even more fascinating. During those quiet morning moments before you check your phone, before you react to emails, before the world starts telling you who you should be, you have an extraordinary opportunity. In that sacred space, you're essentially broadcasting a signal to what scientists are beginning to understand as an interconnected field of energy that responds to consciousness. Every thought, every emotion, every intention you hold sends out a specific frequency into this invisible field. And here's the remarkable part. This field operates like a cosmic amplifier. Whatever energy you consistently broadcast gets reflected back to you in the form of circumstances, opportunities, and experiences. It's not magic or wishful thinking. It's a fundamental principle of how reality operates at the quantum level. Hit the like button if this shifted your perspective on money and abundance. Your like helps these ideas reach others who are ready for this transformation. Most people unconsciously broadcast signals of worry, scarcity, and limitation because that's what they've been conditioned to do. They wake up and immediately tune into news that fills them with anxiety, or they start their day rehearsing their problems and limitations. Without realizing it, they're programming the field to send them more experiences that match that frequency. But when you take conscious control of those first few minutes and deliberately broadcast signals of abundance, gratitude, and certainty, something extraordinary begins happening in your external world. Synchronicities start appearing. The right people show up at the right time. Ideas that could transform your financial situation seem to download directly into your awareness. The impact of this practice compounds over time because you're literally rewiring your relationship with the invisible forces that shape your reality. Instead of being at the mercy of random circumstances, you become a conscious co-creator, actively participating in the design of your experience. What makes this even more powerful is that the field doesn't just respond to your words or thoughts. It responds to the authentic energy behind them. You can't fake this frequency or manipulate it through technique alone. It requires a genuine alignment between who you're being and what you're broadcasting. This brings us to something that most people never consider about their morning routine, and it's a revelation that could completely transform how you approach each new day. Write in the comments, "I choose to broadcast abundance," if you're ready to take conscious control of the energy you're sending out into the world. That revelation I mentioned centers around something most people completely overlook in their personal transformation journey: the profound difference between sporadic inspiration and daily cultivation. You see, we live in a culture obsessed with dramatic breakthroughs and overnight success stories, but the hidden truth about wealth creation operates on an entirely different timeline. Here's what happens behind the scenes in the lives of people who consistently attract abundance. They've discovered that real power doesn't respond to occasional bursts of motivation or weekend seminars. It responds to something far more subtle, yet infinitely more powerful: the quiet consistency of daily practice. Every single morning, regardless of how they feel, regardless of what's happening in their external world, they show up for this inner work. Think about how water carves through stone. It's not the force of a single drop that creates the canyon. It's the persistent, gentle pressure applied day after day, year after year. Your consciousness operates the same way. What you think continuously, what you feel repeatedly, what you embody consistently becomes the blueprint from which your reality constructs itself. Most people approach wealth building like they approach fitness. They get inspired, they go hard for a few weeks, maybe even a few months, then life gets busy, and they abandon the practice entirely. But here's the fascinating part. Your subconscious mind is always working, always creating, always attracting. If you're not consciously directing that process through daily practice, it defaults to whatever programming was installed during your childhood or by your current environment. This is where the journey becomes deeply personal, because you have to make a fundamental decision about who you're going to be. Are you someone who shows up consistently for your own transformation, or are you someone who relies on external circumstances to determine your internal state? The people who master this understand that consistency isn't about perfection. It's about commitment to the process, even when you can't see immediate results. Now, here's where this gets really interesting from a practical standpoint. Your mind operates like a garden, and this isn't just a metaphor. It's a precise description of how consciousness works. Every thought you allow to take root becomes a seed that will eventually produce fruit in your experience. If you're planting seeds of worry about money, thoughts of limitation, beliefs about scarcity, then that's exactly what's going to grow in your life. But the remarkable thing about this mental garden is that you have complete control over what gets planted. Every morning when you open your eyes, you're holding a handful of seeds, and you get to choose what goes into the soil of your consciousness. This is one of the most empowering revelations you can have about your relationship with money. You're not at the mercy of economic conditions, your boss's decisions, or market fluctuations. You're the gardener of your own abundance. The impact of this realization changes everything, because suddenly you understand that poverty and wealth aren't circumstances that happen to you. They're frequencies you cultivate within you. When you consistently plant thoughts of abundance, gratitude, and possibility, your life begins producing experiences that match that internal landscape. It's not magic or positive thinking. It's a natural law, as reliable as gravity. What most people don't realize is that they're already using this law perfectly. They're just using it to create experiences they don't want. Every time they worry about bills, complain about their situation, or rehearse scenarios of financial struggle, they're planting seeds and watering them with emotional energy. Then they wonder why their external circumstances never change. The transformation happens when you become conscious of this process and start deliberately choosing different seeds. Instead of waking up and immediately thinking about what you lack, you train yourself to focus on abundance that's already flowing toward you. Instead of rehearsing problems, you rehearse solutions and possibilities. But here's what makes this practice so powerful, and it's something that takes this far beyond simple mindset work into the realm of actual reality creation. Write in the comments, "I am the gardener of my abundance," if you're ready to take full responsibility for what you're cultivating in your mental garden. What makes this practice so powerful goes beyond simple mindset work, because it addresses a fundamental misunderstanding about how wealth actually flows into people's lives. Most individuals approach money from what I call desperation frequency. They work incredibly hard, put in long hours, and exhaust themselves, but they're doing all of this from a place of fear, urgency, and scarcity. Thinking, here's the hidden truth that changes everything. When you're operating from desperation frequency, you're actually repelling the very thing you're trying to attract. Think about it. Have you ever noticed how people who are desperately seeking a romantic relationship often push potential partners away? The same principle applies to money. Desperation has a specific energetic signature that creates resistance rather than flow. The transformation happens when you understand that your mental frequency determines your results far more than your physical effort. Two people can perform the exact same actions, making the same sales calls, working the same hours, pursuing the same opportunities, but get completely different outcomes based on the internal frequency they're operating from. One person makes those calls from anxiety and need, while the other makes them from confidence and abundance. The second person consistently gets better results, not because they're doing more, but because they're being different. This is where the journey becomes deeply practical, because changing your frequency isn't just about feeling good. It's about fundamentally altering the energy you bring to every interaction, every decision, every opportunity. When you work from wealth frequency, you approach challenges as puzzles to solve rather than threats to survive. You make decisions from possibility rather than limitation. You communicate from a place of value rather than desperation. The impact of this shift shows up in ways that might surprise you. People respond to you differently. Opportunities seem to find you more easily. Solutions appear that you couldn't see when you were operating from scarcity. It's not that the external world has changed. It's that your internal frequency has tuned you into a different channel of reality, where abundance is the natural state. Now, this brings us to something that most people struggle with, and it's the difference between saying words and speaking with conviction. You can repeat affirmations all day long, but if there's no power behind them, if you're just going through the motions, then you're essentially having a conversation with yourself that your subconscious mind completely ignores. Subscribe if you're ready to dive deeper into conscious wealth creation. I share transformational concepts here that you won't want to miss on your abundance journey. Real transformation happens when you learn to speak to your subconscious with the same conviction that you'd use to wake someone from a deep sleep. Those morning moments when you're still in that liminal space between conscious and unconscious awareness, that's when you have direct access to reprogram your operating system. But it requires you to mean what you're saying. When you close your eyes and declare, "I am an open channel of prosperity," you're not just reciting words, you're issuing a command to your nervous system. You're telling every cell in your body to align with this new identity. When you affirm, "Money flows to me with ease," you're rewiring neural pathways that have been conditioned to believe struggle is necessary. When you state, "Everything I need is already on its way," you're training your consciousness to operate from trust rather than fear. The revelations continue to unfold when you realize that conviction isn't something you have to manufacture. It's something you choose to embody. You don't need proof before you believe. You need belief before you see proof. This is where most people get stuck, because they're waiting for external evidence to validate their internal transformation. But the process works in reverse. Your subconscious mind doesn't argue with you when you speak with genuine conviction. It simply accepts whatever you tell it with authority and begins reorganizing your entire reality to match that new programming. But here's what makes this practice even more powerful than most people realize. Write in the comments, "I speak with conviction," if you're ready to communicate with your subconscious mind like you actually mean what you're saying. What makes this practice even more powerful than most people realize is the hidden science behind how thoughts actually become physical reality. You see, most people think visualization is just daydreaming or wishful thinking, but there's profound research happening behind the scenes that reveals something extraordinary about how consciousness interacts with the physical world. When you combine clear mental imagery with genuine emotion, you're not just thinking about wealth. You're literally creating new neural pathways in your brain that mirror the neural patterns of someone who already has that wealth. Your nervous system doesn't distinguish between a vividly imagined experience and an actual experience. This means you can train your brain to operate from abundance before you have any external evidence of abundance. Here's where this journey becomes truly transformative. Emotion is the secret ingredient that turns thoughts into things. A thought without emotion is like a seed without water. It has potential, but it can't grow. But when you infuse your visualization with real feeling, with genuine excitement about your abundant future, with authentic gratitude for what's already flowing toward you, you're providing the energetic fuel that transforms mental images into physical reality. If you felt that connection to understanding wealth as internal frequency. Hit like. You're helping spread these consciousness-shifting ideas to people who need them. Think about what happens in your body when you visualize your ideal financial situation with real emotion. Your heart rate changes, your breathing shifts, your posture adjusts, your facial expression transforms, your entire physiology reorganizes itself to match the reality you're imagining. This isn't just feel-good psychology. This is your body literally practicing being wealthy, so that when wealth arrives, you're already calibrated to receive and maintain it. But here's where most people sabotage their own transformation without even realizing it, and it reveals a hidden truth about how energy actually works in the manifestation process. You can do the most powerful visualization, feel incredible emotions, and speak with absolute conviction, but if your behavior throughout the day contradicts what you've been affirming, you're essentially sending mixed signals to the universe. Imagine trying to tune into a radio station while someone else is constantly changing the frequency. You'll get nothing but static and confusion. The same thing happens when there's incoherence between your inner work and your outer expression. If you spend your morning affirming abundance, but spend your afternoon complaining about money, worrying about bills, or making decisions from fear, you're canceling out all the positive programming you just installed. This is where the real mastery begins, because true transformation requires what I call full-spectrum coherence. It's not enough to think rich thoughts. You have to feel rich emotions, speak rich words, and most importantly, take rich actions. This doesn't mean spending money you don't have or pretending to be something you're not. It means carrying yourself with the quiet confidence of someone who knows their value, making decisions from possibility rather than limitation, and treating every interaction as an opportunity to express your abundant nature. The impact of this coherence is remarkable to witness. When someone achieves true alignment between their inner state and outer expression, they become magnetic in a way that's difficult to explain but impossible to ignore. Opportunities seem to gravitate toward them. People want to do business with them. Doors open that were previously invisible. The revelations continue when you understand that this coherence isn't something you achieve once and then maintain forever. It's a daily practice, a moment-by-moment choice to stay aligned with your highest vision of yourself. Every time you catch yourself slipping back into old patterns of thought, speech, or behavior, you have an opportunity to realign and strengthen your coherence muscle. This brings us to something that most people never consider about their relationship with money, and it's a breakthrough that could completely transform how you show up in the world. Write in the comments, "I choose coherence," if you're committed to aligning your thoughts, feelings, and actions with the abundant life you're creating. That breakthrough I mentioned centers around something so fundamental, yet so overlooked that most people go their entire lives without recognizing its profound impact on their financial reality. The language patterns you use every single day are literally programming your relationship with money at a subconscious level. Here's what happens behind the scenes every time you speak. Your subconscious mind is listening to every word, treating each phrase as an instruction manual for what kind of reality to create. When you say, "I can't afford it," you're not just making a statement about your current financial situation. You're issuing a command to your creative subconscious to maintain that state of not being able to afford things. When you declare, "That's too expensive," you're reinforcing an identity of limitation and scarcity. Your words are like software code for your reality. Every phrase you repeat becomes a program running in the background of your consciousness, constantly working to manifest experiences that match your linguistic patterns. This is why people who consistently speak about struggle, lack, and limitation tend to experience more of exactly those things, while people who speak from abundance and possibility seem to effortlessly attract opportunities and resources. The transformation begins when you become conscious of this programming and start deliberately choosing different language patterns. Instead of saying, "I can't afford it," You train yourself to say, I'm learning to generate more income to support my desires. Instead of declaring something too expensive, you shift to that luxury will soon be mine as my wealth continues to grow. These aren't just positive affirmations, they're fundamental rewrites of your financial operating system. What makes this practice so powerful is that you don't have to believe these new phrases initially. You just have to say them consistently until they become your new default programming. Your subconscious mind is remarkably malleable, and it will begin reorganizing your entire reality to match whatever language patterns you feed it most frequently. This brings us to something that most people completely misunderstand about how money actually flows into people's lives. They think wealth creation is about finding the right strategy, connecting with the right people, or working in the right industry. But here's the hidden truth. Money is energy, and like all energy, it flows toward order, clarity, and coherent direction. It literally flees from chaos, confusion, and internal conflict. Most people spend their time chasing money externally while their internal world is in complete disarray. Their thoughts are scattered, their emotions are chaotic, their goals are unclear, and their energy is fragmented. Then they wonder why money seems to slip through their fingers, or why opportunities never quite materialize the way they envision. The journey toward true wealth begins with a fundamental shift in priorities. Instead of trying to manipulate external circumstances to create more money, you focus first on creating internal conditions that naturally attract and sustain wealth. This means developing clarity about what you actually want, not just financially, but in every area of your life. It means organizing your thoughts, emotions, and daily practices around your vision of abundance rather than your current circumstances. Money loves minds that know exactly where they're going. It gravitates toward people who can hold a clear vision without wavering, who can maintain elevated energy even in challenging circumstances, who can stay focused on their goals despite temporary setbacks. When you develop these internal qualities, you become like a lighthouse. You don't chase ships, but ships naturally navigate toward your beacon. The revelations continue to unfold when you realize that this internal alignment creates what I call effortless magnetism. Instead of working harder to attract opportunities, opportunities begin seeking you out. Instead of pushing to make things happen, you find yourself in the flow where things seem to happen through you. This isn't luck or coincidence. It's the natural result of aligning your inner world with the frequency of abundance. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic because there's a specific way that your daily environment and the subtle energies you interact with are either supporting or sabotaging this entire transformation process. Write in the comments, I align my inner world first, if you understand that true wealth begins with internal organization rather than external manipulation. Those subtle energies I mentioned are working behind the scenes in ways that most people never recognize, and it all centers around a biological window of opportunity that exists for just a few precious minutes each morning. You see, when you first wake up, your brain is operating in what neuroscientists call the theta state, a highly receptive frequency where your conscious mind hasn't yet activated its analytical filters and your subconscious is essentially wide open to new programming. This is the same brainwave state that occurs during deep meditation or hypnosis, and it's why those first few minutes after waking are so incredibly powerful for transformation. Your mind is literally like fertile soil at this moment, ready to accept whatever seeds you choose to plant. The hidden truth is that most people completely waste this opportunity by immediately reaching for their phones, flooding their consciousness with other people's agendas, problems, and emotional energy. Think about what happens when you start your day by scrolling through news, social media, or messages. You're essentially handing over control of your most programmable mental state to external forces that have no investment in your abundance or success. Instead of planting seeds of wealth and possibility, you're allowing random information to take root in your subconscious, creating a chaotic internal landscape that makes it nearly impossible for abundance to flourish. The transformation happens when you reclaim those first 5 minutes and use them with deliberate intention to reprogram your financial reality. This isn't just about positive thinking. This is about leveraging a specific neurological window to install new operating instructions in your subconscious mind. When you spend those precious theta state minutes declaring statements like, "Money loves me and flows constantly toward me," with genuine emotion and conviction, you're essentially rewriting the fundamental code that governs your relationship with wealth. Here's what makes this practice so remarkably effective. Your subconscious mind doesn't argue with information it receives during theta state. It simply accepts whatever you tell it as truth and begins reorganizing your entire reality to match that new programming. When you consistently declare, "I am a magnet for wealth opportunities" during this receptive window, your mind starts noticing opportunities that were always there but previously invisible to your scarcity-focused awareness. The impact of this daily reprogramming compounds in ways that seem almost miraculous. Ideas begin flowing more freely. Conversations lead to unexpected connections. Solutions to financial challenges appear seemingly out of nowhere. You start making decisions from a place of abundance rather than fear, which naturally leads to better outcomes and increased prosperity. But here's where this journey becomes even more fascinating. The specific words you choose during this morning practice aren't just affirmations. They're energetic frequencies that tune your entire being to the vibration of wealth. When you say, "Money loves me," you're not just changing your thoughts about money, you're transforming your energetic relationship with it. Instead of approaching money from a place of need or desperation, you begin to embody the frequency of someone who has a loving, abundant relationship with financial flow. The revelations continue when you understand that this practice works because it addresses the root cause of financial struggle, which isn't external circumstances, but internal programming. Most people are operating from subconscious beliefs about money that were installed during childhood, beliefs about having to struggle for security, about money being scarce or difficult to obtain, about wealthy people being somehow different or special. Those 5 minutes of intentional programming each morning gradually overwrite those limiting beliefs with new, empowering ones. Your nervous system begins operating from the assumption that abundance is your natural state, that opportunities are everywhere, and that wealth flows easily and naturally into your experience. This brings us to something that most people never consider about their morning routine, and it's a discovery that could completely revolutionize how you approach not just wealth creation, but your entire relationship with possibility itself. Write in the comments, "I reclaim my morning power," if you're ready to use those precious theta state minutes to reprogram your financial reality. That discovery I mentioned about revolutionizing your relationship with possibility centers around something that might initially feel uncomfortable or even ridiculous. But it's one of the most powerful transformation techniques ever developed. Speaking your affirmations directly to yourself in the mirror with complete conviction and force. There's profound science behind why this practice is so effective. When you look into your own eyes while declaring your abundance, you're creating what neuroscientists call a neural feedback loop. Your brain receives multiple sensory inputs simultaneously: the sound of your voice, the visual of your own face, the kinesthetic feeling of speaking with power. And this multi-sensory experience creates deeper neural pathways than simply thinking positive thoughts. Here's what happens behind the scenes during this mirror work. You're essentially having a conversation with every part of yourself that has ever doubted your worthiness to receive wealth. Those limiting beliefs that were installed during childhood, the self-doubt that creeps in during challenging times, the inner critic that tells you abundance isn't meant for people like you. All of these aspects of your psyche are witnessing you declare your new reality with unwavering conviction. The initial discomfort you might feel is actually evidence that this practice is working. That awkwardness, that sense of "this feels weird," is your old programming resisting the new instructions you're installing. But when you push through that resistance and continue declaring your abundance with force and passion, you're literally sculpting a new version of yourself at the deepest levels of your being. What makes this even more powerful is understanding the hidden truth about how attraction actually works in your life. Most people think they attract what they desire, what they want, what they hope for. But the reality is far more precise. You attract what you believe at the deepest subconscious level, regardless of what your conscious mind desires. This revelation changes everything about how you approach personal transformation. You can consciously want wealth all day long, but if your subconscious programming believes you don't deserve it, believes money is difficult to obtain, believes wealthy people are somehow different from you, then your subconscious will sabotage every opportunity that comes your way. It will find ways to ensure your external reality matches your internal beliefs. Here's where this gets really fascinating from a practical standpoint. Research shows that about 95% of your daily actions and decisions come from subconscious programming, while only 5% come from conscious thought. This means that the vast majority of your behavior is being driven by programming that was installed years or even decades ago, much of it during childhood when your mind was completely open and uncritical. But here's the empowering part of this discovery. When you consciously program that small 5% with new beliefs, new language patterns, and new identity statements, it begins to influence and gradually reprogram the entire 95%. It's like installing new software that slowly but systematically updates your entire operating system. The journey of transformation becomes a daily practice of consciously choosing what beliefs to strengthen and what programming to install. Every morning, when you look in the mirror and declare your abundance with power, you're essentially voting for a new version of yourself. You're telling your subconscious mind, "This is who I am now. This is what I believe about myself. This is the reality I'm creating." The impact of this practice builds momentum over time because each day of consistent programming makes the new beliefs stronger, while the old limiting beliefs begin to weaken and fade. Your behavior starts shifting automatically to align with your new identity. You begin making decisions that someone with abundant beliefs would make. You start taking actions that support wealth creation rather than sabotaging it. This brings us to something that most people never realize about their daily energy and how the smallest details of how you treat money are actually sending powerful signals to your subconscious about what you believe you deserve. Write in the comments, "I program my new reality daily," if you're committed to using the power of conscious repetition to reprogram your subconscious beliefs about wealth. Those smallest details I mentioned about how you treat money reveal something profound about the hidden signals you're constantly sending to your subconscious mind. But first, let me share something that will completely transform how you approach visualization and why most people's attempts at manifesting wealth fail miserably. The secret that separates those who successfully transform their financial reality from those who stay stuck in wishful thinking is the quality of emotion they bring to their visualization practice. You see, your subconscious mind is incredibly sophisticated, and it can instantly detect the difference between genuine feeling and manufactured emotion. When you try to visualize wealth while feeling empty inside, while going through the motions without authentic excitement, your subconscious recognizes this as pretense and simply ignores the entire exercise. Here's what happens behind the scenes when you master the art of emotional visualization. Your nervous system begins producing the same neurochemical responses that it would if you were actually experiencing that wealth in physical reality. Your brain releases the same hormones, your heart rate adjusts to match someone who feels genuinely prosperous, and your entire physiology shifts into the state of abundance. This isn't just imagination, this is biological programming. The transformation occurs when you realize that you can literally feel wealthy right now, regardless of your bank balance. When you close your eyes and truly enter the emotional state of someone who has complete financial freedom, who never worries about money, who feels grateful for abundant flow, you're training your body to hold that frequency. Your subconscious mind doesn't distinguish between a vividly experienced visualization and actual lived experience, so you're essentially giving yourself a daily dose of wealth consciousness. But here's where this journey takes a fascinating turn that most people never consider. Even if you master the emotional aspect of visualization, even if you can genuinely feel abundant during your practice, if your fundamental self-image remains unchanged, you'll unconsciously sabotage every opportunity that comes your way. This reveals one of the most important psychological principles governing human behavior. No person can consistently live in a way that contradicts their deep-seated self-image. If you see yourself as someone who struggles with money, someone who doesn't deserve wealth, someone who wasn't meant for financial success, then no matter how much you want to change, your subconscious will find ways to ensure your external reality matches that internal identity. The revelations continue when you understand that changing your self-image isn't about convincing yourself of something that isn't true. It's about recognizing and embracing the wealthy, confident, successful person you already are beneath all the conditioning and limiting beliefs. Every day, you have the opportunity to reinforce either your old identity or your emerging abundant identity through hundreds of small choices and internal conversations. Think about how you currently see yourself in relationship to money. Do you identify as someone who has to work incredibly hard for every dollar? Someone who's always worried about having enough? Someone who believes wealthy people are fundamentally different from you? These identity stories are operating like background software, constantly influencing your decisions, your behavior, and your results. The transformation begins when you consciously choose to see yourself differently. Instead of identifying as someone who wants to be wealthy, you begin identifying as someone who is wealthy and is simply allowing that wealth to manifest in physical form. Instead of seeing yourself as someone who struggles financially, you recognize yourself as someone who has a natural, effortless relationship with money. This shift in self-image creates what I call identity alignment, where your daily actions automatically begin supporting your new wealthy identity rather than reinforcing old patterns of limitation. You start making decisions that wealthy people make, not because you're pretending or trying to fake it, but because that's genuinely who you now see yourself to be. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic because there's a specific way that the physical environment around you and how you interact with money on a daily basis is either reinforcing this new wealthy identity or keeping you trapped in old patterns of scarcity. Write in the comments, "I embody my wealthy identity now," if you're ready to step fully into the person you're becoming, rather than staying stuck in who you've been. That specific way your physical environment either reinforces or undermines your wealthy identity becomes crystal clear when you understand how to use detailed visualization as a powerful frequency generator that literally rewires your brain for abundance. Most people approach visualization like watching a movie. They see themselves with wealth from a distance, as if they're observing someone else's life. But this creates emotional separation that prevents the neural rewiring from taking place. Here's where the transformation becomes tangible. When you spend just 3 minutes each morning seeing yourself living your desired life from the inside out, you're not imagining a distant future. You're practicing being that person right now. You visualize how you walk when you have complete financial freedom. There's a different energy in your step, a relaxed confidence that comes from knowing you're secure. You see what you wear when money isn't a concern, not necessarily expensive clothes, but garments chosen from preference rather than limitation. The journey deepens when you explore how you think when abundance is your natural state. Your mental chatter is different. Instead of worrying about bills or calculating whether you can afford something, your mind is occupied with creative projects, meaningful relationships, and ways to contribute to the world. You make decisions from possibility rather than fear, from expansion rather than contraction. What makes this practice so remarkably effective is understanding that your imagination isn't just daydreaming or fantasy. It's actually a sophisticated frequency generator that broadcasts specific signals into the quantum field around you. When you sustain these detailed, wealthy images with genuine emotion, you're literally activating new neural connections that didn't exist before. Your brain begins forming pathways that support abundant thinking, confident decision-making, and prosperous behavior. The hidden truth about this process is that the energy you generate during these visualization sessions doesn't stay contained within your imagination. It radiates outward, influencing how people perceive you, what opportunities appear in your path, and how circumstances arrange themselves around you. You're essentially broadcasting a signal that says, "I am abundant, I am worthy, I am ready to receive." And the universe responds by sending experiences that match that frequency. Behind the scenes, something remarkable happens in your nervous system during this detailed visualization practice. Your brain doesn't distinguish between neural pathways created by actual experience and those created by vividly imagined experience. When you repeatedly visualize yourself living with wealth, thinking with abundance, and moving with confidence, you're literally training your nervous system to operate from that state as its new default. This is why wealthy people often seem to have a natural ease around money. It's not that they were born different, but that their neural pathways support abundant thinking and behavior. Through detailed visualization, you can develop these same neural patterns before the external wealth appears, which actually accelerates the manifestation process because you're already calibrated to receive and maintain abundance. The impact of this practice extends far beyond the 3 minutes you spend visualizing. Throughout your day, your subconscious mind continues running these new programs, influencing your posture, your language, your decisions, and your interactions with others. You begin naturally embodying the energy of someone who has already achieved financial freedom, which creates a magnetic quality that draws opportunities toward you. But here's what most people miss about this entire process, and it's a revelation that could completely transform how effectively your visualization practice translates into real-world results. The key isn't just generating the right frequency during those 3 minutes of focused imagination. It's maintaining that frequency throughout your day by paying attention to how you interact with the physical symbols of wealth that already exist in your environment. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic because there's a specific relationship between your daily energy management and the speed at which your visualized reality becomes your lived reality. And most people unknowingly sabotage this process through subtle energy leaks they don't even recognize. Write in the comments, "I practice being wealthy now," if you're ready to use detailed visualization to train your nervous system for abundance before the external evidence appears. Those subtle energy leaks I mentioned become most apparent when you encounter the inevitable internal resistance that arises during this transformation journey. Here's what happens behind the scenes that most people aren't prepared for. As you begin embodying this new, wealthy identity through visualization and daily practice, your old self starts fighting back with everything it has. That inner voice will whisper, "This isn't real. You're just pretending. People like you don't become wealthy." This resistance isn't a sign that the process isn't working. It's actually proof that it is working. Your old programming recognizes that it's being replaced, and like any system facing extinction, it will create doubt, fear, and logical arguments to maintain its survival. Here's where most people abandon their transformation journey, and it's the hidden truth that separates those who successfully reprogram their reality from those who stay stuck in old patterns. The moment you feel this resistance, the moment that voice of doubt gets louder, that's precisely when you must persist with even greater conviction. Because believing only in what you can currently see keeps you trapped in the same reality you've always known. The breakthrough happens when you understand that every wealthy person who ever lived had to push through this exact same resistance. They had to believe in their abundant future while their bank account showed scarcity. They had to act from their wealthy identity while their circumstances suggested otherwise. They had to maintain their vision while everyone around them questioned their sanity. This brings us to something that most people completely overlook in their pursuit of wealth, and it's a revelation that could fundamentally change how you approach every single day. The actions that truly build fortunes aren't the grand gestures that everyone sees. They're the invisible disciplines that nobody witnesses, the quiet consistency that happens when no cameras are rolling and no applause is waiting. What you do when nobody is watching defines your fortune more than any public performance ever could. Every morning, when you choose to do your visualization practice instead of scrolling social media, you're casting a vote for your abundant future. Every time you speak to yourself with respect instead of criticism, you're building the foundation of your wealth. Every moment you choose thoughts of possibility over thoughts of limitation, you're constructing an empire that the world can't yet see. The journey of transformation is essentially a series of invisible actions that compound over time to create visible results. Think about it. Every successful business started with someone taking actions that seemed insignificant to outside observers. Every fortune began with daily disciplines that looked boring, ordinary, even pointless to people who couldn't see the bigger picture. Your silent discipline is constantly sending signals to the universe about who you are and what you deserve. When you maintain your morning practice, even when you don't feel like it, you're demonstrating reliability and commitment. When you choose elevated thoughts, even during challenging circumstances, you're proving that your abundance isn't dependent on external conditions. When you treat small amounts of money with respect and gratitude, you're training yourself to be trustworthy with larger amounts. The impact of these invisible actions operates on a principle that most people never consider. The universe is always watching, always responding, always adjusting your reality to match the energy you consistently broadcast through your choices. Every decision you make when nobody else is looking is actually being witnessed and recorded by the most sophisticated manifestation system ever created, your own subconscious mind. Behind the scenes, these invisible actions are creating what I call energetic momentum. Each day of consistent practice makes the next day easier. Each moment of choosing abundance thoughts over scarcity thoughts strengthens your wealth-building neural pathways. Each invisible act of discipline builds your confidence in your own ability to create the life you desire. This is why people who seem to effortlessly attract wealth aren't actually effortless at all. They've simply made the invisible actions so automatic, so integrated into their daily routine, that abundance appears to flow naturally, but that flow is the result of countless invisible choices made when no one was watching. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic, because there's a specific way that most people unknowingly sabotage their invisible work through their relationship with the very symbols of wealth that already exist in their environment, and correcting this one mistake could dramatically accelerate your entire transformation. Write in the comments, "I honor my invisible actions," if you understand that your private disciplines are the true foundation of your public success. That specific mistake I mentioned about sabotaging your invisible work through your relationship with wealth symbols becomes clear when you understand how every small action you take is either demonstrating reliability to the universe or proving that you're not yet ready for greater abundance. Most people don't realize that their subconscious mind is constantly evaluating their trustworthiness based on how they handle the smallest responsibilities and opportunities. When you wake up early, even though you don't feel motivated, you're sending a powerful signal to your deeper mind that you can be trusted with commitments. When you study or develop yourself without anyone applauding or recognizing your efforts, you're proving that your growth isn't dependent on external validation. When you save money without anyone knowing or celebrating that discipline, you're demonstrating that you can manage resources responsibly even when no one is watching. These seemingly insignificant actions are actually modeling what I call internal wealth frequency, the energetic signature of someone who can be trusted with greater abundance. Your subconscious mind is like a cosmic bank manager, constantly evaluating whether you've demonstrated the character qualities necessary to handle more wealth, more opportunities, more responsibility. Here's what happens behind the scenes during this evaluation process. If you can't be trusted to wake up when you say you will, if you can't be relied upon to follow through on small commitments to yourself, if you can't demonstrate discipline when no one is looking, then your subconscious concludes that you're not ready for the level of abundance you're requesting. It will actually create circumstances that prevent wealth from flowing to you, not out of punishment, but out of protection. The transformation occurs when you realize that every small act of reliability is like making a deposit in your cosmic trust account. Each time you follow through on a commitment to yourself, each time you choose discipline over comfort, each time you act from your future self rather than your current circumstances, you're building evidence that you can handle whatever level of abundance is meant for you. This brings us to the most critical window of opportunity in your entire day, and it's a period that most people completely waste without realizing the profound impact it has on their financial reality. The first 10 minutes after you wake up don't just determine your mood or energy level. They literally set the vibrational frequency that attracts or repels opportunities for the next 24 hours. Think about what typically happens during those first 10 minutes. Most people immediately reach for their phone, flooding their consciousness with other people's problems, news designed to create anxiety, social media that triggers comparison and inadequacy. Within minutes of opening their eyes, they've handed control of their mental state over to external forces that have no investment in their success or abundance. Here's the hidden truth about this morning window. Your brain is still operating in theta wave patterns during those first few minutes, making your subconscious mind incredibly receptive to whatever information you feed it. This is the same brainwave state that occurs during deep meditation or hypnosis, which means you have direct access to reprogram your reality at the deepest levels. The journey toward true wealth begins with reclaiming those 10 minutes and using them with deliberate intention. Instead of opening your phone, you open your intention. Instead of immediately reacting to the world's agenda, you set your own agenda for abundance. You stay silent, breathe deeply, and thank mentally for the wealth that's already flowing toward you, even if you can't see it yet. What makes this practice so powerful is that you're essentially programming your nervous system for abundance before any external influences can interfere with that programming. You're setting the energetic tone for your entire day from a place of gratitude, possibility, and inner peace, rather than from anxiety, comparison, or reactivity. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic because there's a specific sequence of mental and emotional practices during those first 10 minutes that can literally transform your relationship with money at the cellular level. And most people miss the crucial element that makes the difference between temporary positive feelings and permanent wealth consciousness. Write in the comments, I own my first 10 minutes if you're ready to reclaim the most powerful programming window of your day and use it to create lasting abundance. That crucial element I mentioned about transforming temporary positive feelings into permanent wealth consciousness centers around something most people completely overlook: the profound difference between thinking your affirmations and physically writing them down with deliberate intention. There's actual science behind why this distinction matters so much for your transformation journey. When you take a notebook and write powerful statements like, "I am a magnet for opportunities," or "money flows naturally and constantly toward me," you're not just recording thoughts. You're literally imprinting energy into matter. The physical act of writing engages multiple areas of your brain simultaneously, creating stronger neural pathways than mental repetition alone. Your hand moves, your eyes track the words, your brain processes the meaning, and your nervous system feels the emotion behind each statement. Here's what happens behind the scenes during this writing process. You're essentially downloading your abundant future into physical reality through the medium of ink and paper. Each letter you form, each word you complete, each sentence you finish becomes a tangible anchor for your new reality. Your subconscious mind perceives this physical creation as evidence that your abundant future isn't just wishful thinking, it's something real enough to exist in material form. The transformation deepens when you understand that writing with intention creates what I call energetic momentum in ways that mental affirmations alone cannot achieve. When you physically write, "Money flows to me with ease," you're engaging your creative force at multiple levels simultaneously. You're thinking the thought, feeling the emotion, and taking physical action, all in alignment with your abundant vision. But here's where this practice becomes truly powerful, and it's something that separates those who experience temporary motivation from those who achieve lasting transformation. The words you write must be supported by clear, vivid mental images that you maintain with absolutely unwavering faith. You cannot transmit an idea to the universe without first having a crystal clear vision of what you actually want. Most people make the mistake of having vague, unclear desires. They want more money without specifying what that means. They visualize success without defining what success looks like in their specific situation. This lack of clarity creates confusion in their subconscious mind and mixed signals in their energy field, which inevitably leads to mixed results in their external reality. The journey toward true abundance requires you to form precise mental images of your desired financial situation and then maintain those images with faith so strong that doubt cannot penetrate your consciousness. This isn't just positive thinking. This is deliberate reality creation through focused intention and unwavering belief. Here's what makes this process so remarkably effective. When you combine the physical act of writing with clear mental imagery and unshakable faith, you're essentially creating a complete blueprint for your subconscious mind to follow. You're giving it specific instructions about what to create, backed by the emotional energy necessary to fuel that creation, supported by physical actions that demonstrate your commitment to the outcome. The revelations continue when you realize that maintaining these mental images with unwavering faith requires excluding everything that creates doubt. This means protecting your vision from negative influences, skeptical people, and limiting circumstances that try to convince you that your abundant future isn't possible. Every time you allow doubt to creep in, you're essentially erasing part of your blueprint and confusing your manifestation process. Behind the scenes, your subconscious mind is constantly scanning your thoughts and emotions for consistency. When it detects that you truly believe in your abundant future, when it senses that your faith is stronger than your fear, when it recognizes that your vision is clear and your commitment is unwavering, it begins reorganizing your entire reality to match that internal blueprint. The impact of this practice becomes evident when you start noticing that your external circumstances begin shifting to support your written affirmations and visualized images. Opportunities appear that align perfectly with your vision. People enter your life who can help you achieve your goals. Ideas download into your consciousness that provide solutions to challenges you've been facing. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic because there's a specific relationship between how you treat the money that's already in your life and how much more money feels safe to flow toward you. And this connection reveals why some people can manifest small amounts but struggle to break through to true abundance. Write in the comments, "I create my reality through writing," if you're ready to use the power of physical creation to anchor your abundant future in the material world. That specific relationship I mentioned between how you treat existing money and how much more feels safe to flow toward you reveals one of the most overlooked aspects of wealth creation, and it's hiding in plain sight in the smallest details of your daily interactions with money. Here's what happens behind the scenes that most people never consider. Money is energy, and like all energy, it responds to how it's treated. When you approach money with carelessness, disrespect, or anxiety, you're essentially sending a signal to the universe that you're not ready to be trusted with larger amounts. But when you treat even the smallest amounts with order, precision, and genuine respect, you're demonstrating that you understand money's value and can be trusted with abundance. Think about your wallet right now. Is it organized and clean, or is it stuffed with crumpled bills, old receipts, and forgotten business cards? This might seem like a trivial detail, but your relationship with your wallet is actually a mirror of your relationship with wealth itself. When you take time to organize your money, when you smooth out your bills and arrange them with care, you're literally practicing abundance consciousness. The transformation happens when you begin treating every financial interaction as an opportunity to demonstrate your worthiness for greater abundance. Before you spend money on anything, even something small, you pause for a moment and genuinely thank the universe for providing you with the resources to make that purchase. This simple practice shifts your spending from an energy of lack to an energy of gratitude, which fundamentally changes the signal you're broadcasting. Here's where this journey becomes deeply personal and revealing. If you have one coin in your pocket, the way you treat that single coin determines whether the universe trusts you with 1,000 coins. If you despise little, if you're careless with small amounts, if you treat modest sums as insignificant, you're actually rejecting much larger sums without realizing it. Your subconscious mind concludes that if you can't properly value and manage small amounts, you're not ready for the responsibility that comes with wealth. The revelations continue when you understand that celebrating your achievements, no matter how small they might seem, creates energetic momentum that literally multiplies your future successes. When you acknowledge and appreciate every financial win, whether it's finding $1 on the ground, receiving an unexpected discount, or successfully saving a small amount, you're training your mind to notice and attract more positive financial experiences. Behind the scenes, this practice of celebration activates what neuroscientists call the success circuit in your brain. Each time you acknowledge a financial achievement with genuine appreciation, you're strengthening neural pathways that support abundance thinking and confident action-taking. Your brain begins looking for more experiences to celebrate, which naturally leads to noticing and creating more opportunities for financial success. What makes this even more powerful is understanding that these small acts of respect and celebration are actually forms of invisible communication with the quantum field that surrounds you. Every time you handle money with care, every moment you express gratitude for financial flow, every instance you celebrate monetary wins, you're broadcasting a frequency that says, "I appreciate abundance, I value prosperity, I'm ready for more." The impact of this practice compounds over time because you're essentially retraining your nervous system to hold a different relationship with money. Instead of approaching financial matters with stress, worry, or casual indifference, you begin interacting with money from a place of respect, gratitude, and conscious appreciation. This energetic shift creates what I call wealth magnetism, a quality that naturally attracts more abundant experiences. Most people completely miss this connection between their treatment of small amounts and their capacity to receive large amounts. They're waiting for significant wealth to appear before they start treating money with proper respect. But the universe operates in reverse. It first observes how you handle what you already have, then determines whether you're ready for more based on that evidence. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic because there's a specific way that your daily energy management and the quality of your internal state directly affects not just your ability to attract money, but your capacity to maintain and multiply wealth once it arrives. Write in the comments, "I honor every penny," if you're ready to transform your relationship with money by treating every amount, no matter how small, with genuine respect and appreciation. That specific way your daily energy management affects your capacity to maintain and multiply wealth reveals something profound about the connection between your internal state and your external reality. And it begins with understanding how to harness the most powerful programming window available to you each morning. Every single day, your mind awakens like a blank page, completely receptive to whatever information you choose to write upon it. This isn't just a metaphor. Your brain is literally in its most programmable state during those first few minutes after consciousness returns. What you choose to write on that blank page through your thoughts, emotions, and intentions determines how the universe responds to you for the next 24 hours. Here's what happens behind the scenes when you dedicate just 10 minutes each morning to consciously seeding your subconscious with wealth-building phrases. You're essentially installing new software into your mental operating system while it's most receptive to updates. When you repeat statements like, "I am aligned with infinite," "abundance," or "money flows to me from multiple sources," with genuine feeling and conviction, you're not just speaking words, you're programming your nervous system to operate from that reality. The transformation occurs when you understand that these 10 minutes of intentional silence and focused programming are worth more than hours of unfocused effort later in the day. During this quiet morning practice, you're working directly with your subconscious mind before your analytical, doubtful, conscious mind fully awakens and starts creating resistance to your new programming. But here's where this journey takes a fascinating turn that most people never consider. The quality of information you consume throughout the rest of your day either reinforces or undermines the powerful programming you installed during those morning minutes. Your mind operates exactly like your digestive system. What you feed it directly determines the kind of energy it produces and the results it creates in your life. Think about this for a moment. If you spent 10 minutes programming abundance consciousness in the morning, then spent the rest of your day consuming news about economic problems, social media posts about struggle, or conversations filled with financial worry, you're essentially poisoning the positive programming you just installed. It's like eating a healthy breakfast and then consuming junk food for the rest of the day. The beneficial effects get completely overwhelmed by the toxic input. The revelations continue when you realize that consciously choosing what to feed your mind each day is one of the most powerful wealth-building practices you can develop. Just as you wouldn't expect your body to be healthy if you fed it garbage, you can't expect your financial reality to be abundant if you're constantly feeding your mind scarcity-based information. This is where the discipline of daily mental nutrition becomes crucial for your transformation. When you spend even 10 minutes each day deliberately feeding your mind with ideas that elevate your financial consciousness, whether through books about wealth creation, audio programs about abundance, or videos that inspire prosperity thinking, you're literally changing the chemical composition of your thoughts and emotions. Behind the scenes, this practice creates what I call wealth momentum in your neural pathways. Each day that you choose elevating content over depleting content, you're strengthening the brain. Circuits that support confident decision-making, creative problem-solving, and abundant thinking. Your mind begins automatically filtering information through the lens of possibility rather than limitation. The impact of this conscious mental nutrition extends far beyond the few minutes you spend consuming positive content. Throughout your day, your subconscious mind continues processing and integrating these wealth-building concepts, influencing your decisions, your behavior, and your responses to opportunities. You begin naturally thinking like someone who understands money, which inevitably leads to acting like someone who attracts money. What makes this practice even more powerful is understanding that you're not just changing your thoughts, you're literally rewiring your brain's neural networks to support abundance rather than scarcity. Neuroscience shows us that repeated exposure to empowering ideas creates new neural pathways that become stronger and more automatic over time. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic because there's a specific relationship between the energy you carry throughout your day and the opportunities that either appear or remain invisible to you. And most people unknowingly repel abundance through subtle energy patterns they don't even recognize. Write in the comments, I choose conscious mental nutrition, if you're ready to become as deliberate about what you feed your mind as you are about what you feed your body. Those subtle energy patterns I mentioned that unknowingly repel abundance become crystal clear when you understand a fundamental principle that completely transforms how you approach wealth creation. Money doesn't follow effort, it follows energy. This revelation changes everything about how you spend your days and where you focus your attention. Most people exhaust themselves working harder and harder, believing that increased effort automatically leads to increased income. But here's what happens behind the scenes that they don't recognize. If you're working from a frequency of desperation, stress, or scarcity, you're actually broadcasting signals that repel the very abundance you're trying to attract. Your energy field is constantly communicating with the world around you, and that communication determines what opportunities appear in your path. Think about how you feel when you're around someone who's anxious, desperate, or needy. There's something in their energy that makes you want to distance yourself, even if you can't quite identify what it is. Money operates the same way. It's drawn to certain energetic qualities and repelled by others. When you protect your energy as your most valuable asset, when you consciously cultivate states of confidence, gratitude, and abundance, you become magnetic to wealth in ways that pure effort alone could never achieve. The transformation begins each morning when you make a deliberate declaration that sets your energetic tone for the entire day. When you state with conviction, today I align with wealth energy, today everything works in my favor, you're not just speaking positive words. You're issuing instructions to your nervous system about how to interpret and respond to everything that happens throughout your day. Here's where this journey becomes deeply practical. Your energy level directly affects your decision-making capability, your creative problem-solving skills, and your ability to recognize opportunities when they appear. When you're operating from elevated energy, you think more clearly, communicate more persuasively, and attract people who want to collaborate with you. When your energy is depleted or negative, you make poor decisions, miss obvious opportunities, and unconsciously push away the very people who could help you succeed. Behind the scenes, this daily energy management creates what I call compound vibrational interest. Each day that you consciously choose to operate from wealth energy rather than scarcity energy, you're building momentum that makes the next day easier and more abundant. Your nervous system begins expecting good things to happen, which creates a self-fulfilling prophecy of positive experiences. But here's what makes this practice even more powerful than most people realize. The way you think about wealth today literally shapes the neural pathways that will determine your financial future. Rich thinking isn't something you're born with. It's something you cultivate through deliberate repetition, and this repetition creates measurable changes in your brain structure. When you think about wealth daily, when you consistently focus on abundance rather than scarcity, when you repeatedly visualize financial success, your mind begins moving like a wealthy mind. This isn't just metaphorical. Neuroscience shows us that repeated thoughts create stronger neural networks, and these networks become the dominant patterns that guide your behavior and decision-making. The revelations continue when you understand that every wealthy person who ever lived developed these neural patterns through repetition, whether consciously or unconsciously. They trained their minds to see opportunities where others saw problems, to think in terms of solutions rather than obstacles, to approach challenges with confidence rather than fear. What seems like natural talent is actually the result of repeated thought patterns that shape their neural architecture over time. The impact of this conscious repetition extends far beyond just feeling more positive about money. When you consistently think wealthy thoughts, you begin naturally making decisions that wealthy people make. You start investing in yourself and your future rather than just surviving day to day. You begin building systems and relationships that support long-term prosperity rather than quick fixes for immediate problems. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic because there's a specific way that your tolerance levels in different areas of your life are either supporting or sabotaging your wealth-building efforts, and most people never make this crucial connection. Write in the comments, "I protect my wealth energy daily," if you understand that your energetic state is more important than your effort level when it comes to attracting abundance. That crucial connection I mentioned between your tolerance levels and your wealth-building efforts reveals one of the most overlooked laws governing financial abundance, and it's operating in your life right now, whether you're aware of it or not. Here's the hidden truth that could transform everything. You will never receive more than what you're willing to tolerate, and most people are unconsciously tolerating far less than they deserve. Think about your current living situation, your daily routines, your relationships, your work environment. Are you tolerating clutter, disorder, disrespect, or mediocrity in any of these areas? Every single thing you allow to remain in your life that doesn't align with your highest vision is essentially sending a signal to the universe that says, "This level is acceptable for me." And the universe, always responsive to your energetic signals, continues providing experiences that match that tolerance level. Here's what happens behind the scenes when you tolerate scarcity thinking, chaotic environments, or mediocre standards. You're literally training your nervous system to expect and accept less than what you truly desire. Your subconscious mind concludes that if you're willing to live with disorder in your physical space, you must be comfortable with disorder in your financial life. If you tolerate disrespectful treatment from others, you must believe you don't deserve abundant, respectful relationships with money and opportunities. The transformation begins when you realize that raising your standards isn't about becoming perfectionist or demanding. It's about honoring the abundant person you're becoming. When you stop tolerating clutter in your environment, you're making space for clarity in your thinking. When you stop accepting mediocre treatment, you're opening the door for abundant experiences to enter your life. This brings us to something that fundamentally changes how you understand wealth creation itself, and it's a revelation that could completely shift your approach from struggle to flow. Money isn't actually the final objective of this entire journey. It's simply the material reflection of the mental and emotional flow you choose to live with each day. Most people have this completely backwards. They think if they work hard enough, strategize cleverly enough, or hustle persistently enough, they'll eventually force money into their lives through external effort. But here's what happens behind the scenes in the lives of truly abundant people. They've discovered that money is just energy taking physical form, and that energy flows toward internal states of alignment, not external displays of effort. The journey toward true abundance opens through what I call the invisible portal, a state of internal alignment where your thoughts, emotions, beliefs, and daily practices all support the same wealthy vision. When you achieve this alignment, you're no longer pushing against resistance or forcing outcomes. Instead, you become like a tuning fork that naturally resonates at the frequency of abundance, attracting money and opportunities effortlessly. Here's where this gets really fascinating. This invisible portal isn't something you find or stumble upon. It's something you consciously create through your daily choices about what to think, feel, and tolerate. Every morning when you choose abundance thoughts over scarcity thoughts, every time you raise your standards instead of settling for less, every moment you align your internal state with your desired external reality, you're opening this portal wider. The revelations continue when you understand that this alignment isn't a destination you reach once and then maintain forever. It's a dynamic, living practice that requires daily attention and conscious choice. Some days you'll feel completely aligned and abundant, while other days, old patterns might try to pull you back into scarcity thinking. The key is recognizing these fluctuations and gently redirecting yourself back to alignment. Behind the scenes, this internal alignment creates what I call effortless magnetism. When your inner world truly matches your wealthy vision, opportunities begin appearing without you having to chase them. People want to do business with you because they sense something different about your energy. Ideas flow more freely because your mind isn't cluttered with worry and resistance. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic because there's a specific aspect of self-worth and deserving that either accelerates or completely blocks this entire abundance process. And most people carry invisible barriers in this area that they don't even recognize. Write in the comments, "I raise my standards daily," if you're ready to stop tolerating anything in your life that doesn't align with the abundant future you're creating. Those invisible barriers I mentioned around self-worth and deserving represent one of the most powerful yet hidden forces that either accelerates or completely blocks your abundance journey. And it's something that operates so subtly that most people never recognize its profound impact on their financial reality. Here's the hidden truth that changes everything. If money isn't flowing into your life at the level you desire, it might not be because you lack the right strategies, connections, or opportunities. Deep down, you might not actually feel that you deserve the abundance you're requesting. This isn't conscious unworthiness, it's subconscious programming that was installed years ago and continues running in the background of your mind. Nothing comes into your experience that isn't in harmony with what you believe you're truly worth at the deepest levels of your being. Your subconscious mind acts like a filter, allowing in only the experiences that match your internal sense of deserving. If part of you believes that wealthy people are somehow different, that you don't have what it takes, or that abundance isn't meant for people with your background, then your subconscious will actually sabotage opportunities to protect you from receiving what it believes you can't handle. The transformation happens when you realize that deserving isn't something you earn through suffering, struggle, or proving yourself to others. Deserving is a decision, a conscious choice to recognize your inherent worth regardless of your past mistakes, current circumstances, or external validation. You don't become worthy by accumulating achievements. You access abundance by remembering that you were already worthy from the moment you were born. Here's what happens behind the scenes when you truly embody this sense of deserving. Your energy shifts in ways that people can feel but can't quite identify. You carry yourself differently. You communicate from a place of quiet confidence, and you make decisions from possibility rather than fear. This energetic shift is like a beacon that attracts opportunities, relationships, and resources that match your new internal frequency. The journey deepens when you understand that this sense of deserving must be reinforced daily through what I call your internal reality code, the specific thoughts, beliefs, and mental images you consciously choose to accept as true about yourself and your financial future. Every single thought you allow to take root in your consciousness becomes a silent order to your external world, instructing the universe about what kind of experiences to create for you. What makes this practice so powerful is understanding that your mind doesn't distinguish between thoughts that just randomly appear and thoughts that you consciously choose and reinforce. Whatever you repeat in your mind daily with genuine emotion, authentic desire, and unwavering certainty inevitably becomes your lived experience. This isn't mystical thinking. This is the practical application of how consciousness creates reality. Think about the internal dialogue that runs through your mind each day. Are you reinforcing thoughts of limitation, struggle, and unworthiness? Or are you deliberately cultivating thoughts of abundance, capability, and deserving? The quality of your internal conversation directly determines the quality of your external circumstances, and most people never take conscious control of this process. The revelations continue when you realize that developing this daily internal reality code isn't about lying to yourself or pretending circumstances are different than they appear. It's about choosing to focus on the reality you're creating rather than remaining hypnotized by the reality you've already created. When you consistently think, feel, and imagine from your desired future rather than your current circumstances, you're literally programming your nervous system to operate from that new reality. Behind the scenes, this practice creates what neuroscientists call predictive processing. Your brain begins organizing your perceptions, decisions, and actions around the future reality you're consistently imagining rather than the past patterns you're trying to leave behind. Your subconscious mind starts noticing opportunities that support your new internal reality while filtering out experiences that don't match your elevated programming. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic because there's a specific way that confidence and certainty operate as magnetic forces in the manifestation process. And understanding this mechanism could dramatically accelerate how quickly your internal transformation manifests as external abundance. Write in the comments, "I choose to feel deserving now," if you're ready to release old programming about worthiness and step into the abundance that's been waiting for you to feel ready to receive it. That specific mechanism I mentioned about how confidence and certainty operate as magnetic forces reveals something profound about why some people seem to effortlessly attract wealth, while others struggle despite working incredibly hard. The people who prosper most consistently aren't necessarily those with the most contacts, the longest work hours, or even the best strategies. They're the ones who vibrate with what I call serene assurance, a quiet, unshakable confidence that the universe perceives as a clear command rather than a desperate request. Here's what happens behind the scenes when you operate from this vibration of complete confidence. You're no longer asking the universe for abundance. You're expecting it. You're not hoping. Opportunities will appear. You're calmly certain they will. This energetic shift is like switching from being a beggar to being a king. The entire quality of your interaction with reality transforms because you're communicating from a position of inner authority rather than outer need. Think about how you feel when someone approaches you with desperate energy versus confident energy. The desperate person creates discomfort because they're trying to extract something from you to fill their own emptiness. The confident person attracts you because they're radiating fullness and strength. Money and opportunities respond to this same energetic principle. They're drawn to confidence and repelled by desperation. The transformation occurs when you understand that this confidence isn't something you develop after you become wealthy. It's something you cultivate now that enables wealth to flow toward you. When you carry yourself with the quiet assurance of someone who knows their value, when you make decisions from certainty rather than fear, when you approach challenges as puzzles to solve rather than threats to survive, you're broadcasting a frequency that naturally attracts abundance. But here's where this journey reaches its most profound revelation, and it's something that could fundamentally change how you see yourself and your relationship with every aspect of your life. After all the techniques, practices, and principles we've explored, there's one ultimate truth that encompasses everything. You are the key to your own abundance, and you always have been. The power to transform your financial reality was never in some external system, guru, or opportunity. It was always within you, in your mind's capacity to envision a better future, in your intention to create that future, and in your ability to make the daily choices that bridge the gap between where you are and where you want to be. Every technique we've discussed is simply a way to access and direct the creative power that's been yours since birth. Here's what changes everything about how you approach wealth creation. When you truly recognize that you're not a victim of economic circumstances, market conditions, or external limitations, but rather the conscious architect of your own reality, you stop waiting for permission to prosper. You stop looking for someone else to save you, fix your situation, or hand you the life you desire. Instead, you step into your role as the creator of your experience. The revelations continue when you understand that this isn't about taking responsibility for things that happened to you in the past. It's about claiming your power to create what happens to you from this moment forward. Every morning when you open your eyes, you have the opportunity to write a new chapter in your financial story. Every thought you think, every emotion you choose, every action you take is literally sculpting your future reality. Behind the scenes, this recognition activates what I call creator consciousness, a state where you're no longer hoping, wishing, or waiting for abundance to happen to you. Instead, you're deliberately designing and building the life you want with the same intentionality that an architect designs a building. You understand that your current circumstances are simply the result of past programming, and that new programming will inevitably create new circumstances. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic because there's a specific way to integrate all of these insights into a practical daily system that ensures you maintain this creator consciousness consistently, regardless of what challenges or setbacks might temporarily appear in your external world. Write in the comments, "I am the architect of my abundance," if you're ready to stop waiting for external salvation and start building the wealthy life you desire from the creative power within you. That specific way to integrate all of these insights into a practical daily system brings us full circle to where we began, with the understanding that transformation isn't about dramatic overnight changes, but about the quiet consistency of choosing abundance consciousness every single day. Regardless of what temporary circumstances might appear in your external world, if you've stayed with me through this entire journey, if you've absorbed these principles and felt them resonating in your consciousness, then something profound has already shifted. Within you, you're no longer the same person who started watching this video. You now have access to tools and insights that most people never discover, and more importantly, you have the awareness to use them deliberately rather than leaving your financial future to chance. The fact that you're still here tells me you're serious about this transformation. You're not looking for quick fixes or magic formulas. You understand that real wealth consciousness is built through understanding, practice, and consistent application. That's exactly the kind of mindset that creates lasting abundance rather than temporary windfalls. If these insights have sparked something within you, if you recognize the value in approaching wealth from this inside-out perspective, then I'd love for you to subscribe to the channel. This isn't just about numbers. It's about building a community of people who understand that true prosperity begins with internal alignment and who are committed to supporting each other's journey toward financial freedom. And if you made it all the way to the end of this deep dive into wealth consciousness, leave a comment saying, "This message was meant for me," so I know you're part of this community of conscious creators. There's something powerful about acknowledging when information finds you at exactly the right moment. If this conversation resonated with you, if you felt that connection between your current reality and your abundant future becoming clearer, then hitting the like button helps ensure these ideas reach other people who are ready for this level of transformation. There's a video right here that takes this foundation we've built together and shows you exactly how to maintain this abundant mindset, even when facing specific financial challenges. Click and continue with me over there, because your journey toward effortless wealth creation is just